We got another one of them. Popping at the mouth or the side of his neck when he pouts. No argument, no rebuttal from. He ain't from my town, I don't know him, so I'm guessing he's a clown.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. So, the inevitable took place. Domino's Pizza basically threatened to pull its ads from TNT due to the pizza cutter spots between Chris Jericho and Nick Gage. This led to a lot of people being upset. So this is the big topic we're going to try to pull all of this stuff together. So please strap in. We're going to be here for a little while probably. It also goes to show that a lot of wrestling fans are not particularly good business people due to a lot of the anger that has been placed at Domino's for disavowing this. So let's start with what Domino's had to say. So Domino's Pizza disavows, this is from, Front Office Sports. Domino's disavows AEW's bloody pizza cutter spectacle on TNT. Domino's Pizza is disavowing any involvement or knowledge of AEW's bloody telecast in which one wrestler seemingly wielded a pizza cutter to slice his opponent's head open. The fast food giant might also pull its advertising schedule from AEW, which airs Wednesday nights on Warner Media's TNT network. Domino's was not involved, nor had any foreknowledge of the gory scene on the AEW Dynamite main event Wednesday night that showed wrestler Nick Gage apparently slicing Chris Jericho's head open with a pizza cutter. Spokeswoman Jenny Foraker-Petco told FOS, with Front Office Reports, from Thursday night. TNT followed the blood-stained AEW action with a commercial for the family-oriented pizza brand in which Domino's workers are slicing up a fresh pie for delivery. Quote, this is from Petco. We share the concerns expressed about this incident and the content of this TV-14 rated program and are assessing our advertising presence on it going forward. AEW posted a video of the bloody main event on its Twitter feed Thursday. Just as promised, Nick Gage is carving up Chris Jericho. From the wrestling promotion tweeted its 644,000 followers. All right. So this led to a lot of negativity, a lot of negativity. But this is for starters. Let's back up a little bit because they were warned about this. So let's go through some of the warnings. Freddie Prinze Jr., who used to be a writer for WWE, he talked about this way back in March of 2021. Freddie Prinze Jr. said, and I quote, "If you knew how bad most TV execs did not want professional wrestling on their channels, you'd respect the hell out of WWE, NXT, and AEW for pulling it off what they do each week. They literally have every card in the deck stacked against them, and they're still growing the business. This is why cats like Triple H doing interviews and Cody being on the other TNT programming is so important. They help normalize the business because they get it. They come off as chill and solid. Hope they both continue to stay out of the public eye is more important than ever." So Freddie Prinze Jr. used to work as a writer at WWE, told you that wrestling is not popular in corporate America. It never has been. I could go back further. I could go back to 2000. As a matter of fact, let's do exactly that. So, 1999, an entertainment magazine. More WWF and advertisers cave to public pressure. This is from December the 6th, 1999. The World Wrestling Federation has not had its easy lately. First, they lost their two head writers, Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara, to the rival league World Championship Wrestling. Then they were forced to admit this week that their top star, Stone Cold Steve Austin, will likely have to stop wrestling due to a debilitating neck injury. And now the WWF has fallen victim to a wrong-headed witch hunt led by alarmists at the Parents Television Council. The watch group, led by L. Brent Bozell, has spent the past 6 weeks petitioning companies to pull their advertiser from the WWF because it contains what they believe is overly sexual, violent, and profane content. So far, they have successfully gotten everyone from Coca-Cola to AT&T to the U.S. Army to cave in and yank their ads. In an effort to stem the tide of fleeing advertisers, WWF officials this week promised to tone down their programming content, be it colorful language or overt sexuality. There is no question that the WWF is sometimes vulgar, sometimes very violent. It's most of the time entirely inappropriate for preteen fans to flock to it. That's just half the article. So this is not new. This is not new. People have been telling you this forever. If we had a competent wrestling media, they would have been telling them this from the beginning. Okay? So speaking of competent, here comes this very thing, the very concept of Nick Gage being on AEW Dynamite was broached by Eric Bischoff on his podcast. Let's go to that.
Who was the cat that almost killed David Arquette?
Oh, Nick Gage. He just showed up on AEW this past week.
Yeah. I just don't think that kind of thing. Number one, it doesn't interest me. I have zero interest in any of that style of wrestling.
All right, so he's talking about the style of wrestling. I have to do this for copyright to appease the copyright gods. But he's going to talk about Nick Gage specifically. And if you know anything about WCW, you know about standards and practices. The same thing that WWE is under right now with NBC, in which it won't be long before AEW is under the same auspices.
I think it's bad for the industry in general.
Oh.
I think it appeals to such a small portion of the audience that the larger portion of the audience is turned off by it. You know, those guys that love that, we saw it the other night with Moxley and whatever his name was, where they're just digging into each other with a fork. It's like, all right, cool. Whatever. You know, for me, it's just, I won't watch that kind of stuff. Number one, it's not entertaining. There's nothing magic about it. You know, there's no creativity in it. It's just gore and blood for the sake of gore and blood. And I recognize that's my subjective taste. That's me personally.
Okay, so he's talking about his personal taste.
And they're not trying to appeal to me. So I'm not criticizing them being AEW in this case for doing it. I'm just telling you how I feel as someone who'd been in the business for a minute and as a viewer. As a viewer, there's nothing there that makes me go, wow, how did they pull that off? Wow, that was really creative. That created an emotion to me that no one has created in a long time. None of that. It's just like, I don't know, whatever. But I also know certain people like it. But when the dark side of the ring focuses too much on that type of a story, I think it gives the entire industry a bad name. You know, the passive wrestling audience, the advertising community,
yep,
the television network,
yep,
executive community. When
yep,
people see that kind of thing, they walk away with a perception of what professional wrestling is, and that perception becomes harmful in the long run.
So there it is. So this is why Vince McMahon created sports entertainment, because he was trying to escape the visions of pro wrestling as a place where guys like Abdullah the Butcher were stabbing each other in the head, and they were walking around with the scar tissue, because this was years before people started getting rid of scars. So you would obviously see Bruiser Brody, and Abdullah the Butcher, and all those guys. They would have the scarred up foreheads, dusty. And it's obvious what they were doing. Look at the fucking foreheads. So they were warned that this could possibly. And look, Domino'S is the ones who said something publicly. This is one thing that I want people to understand. Domino'S was just the ones who said something publicly. We don't know who has been talking in private about yanking ads. And again, also, this. While the pizza cutter sounds like it was a horrible, terrible, very bad thing, and it was, they have been doing stuff on this show regularly. Okay, they were stabbing each other with forks last week. Okay, they were using glass. They've been doing obvious blading on TV. Obviously, you could see Jericho pulling blades out. Other people, you could see them pulling blades out, cutting themselves. They've been doing this stuff on TV for a while now. Trust me, if Domino's is being loud about it, Who knows what they've been saying in private already? But of course, this led to their favorite, not Jim Cornette, goddammit, Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer went on his show and talked about it. You know, you would think Dave Meltzer, who talks to Tony Khan all the time, would have let him know not to do this. But this is what Dave Meltzer had to say.
Or not giving them what you advertised.
Yeah, but is it worth it?
No.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
Is it worth the
We
risk?
had
When you're in a dirty, sleazy business with enemies, and you are sponsor based on television, there's a reason. Like WWE doesn't do stuff like, well, they would never do this because Vince would never allow stuff like this. Okay, at this level, Vince would hate it, and then he has a right to. But another reason they wouldn't do it is because they're after quality sponsors, and that's a big deal in the television world right now.
It's always been a big deal in the television world, Dave. There's never a time where people are looking at not having quality sponsors. We'll talk about quality sponsors in a moment. So let's finish. Let's listen to a little bit more of what Dave has to say. He talks like a snail. Let's get through this.
And I wouldn't do anything at all to make, like, especially, like, if all your sponsors are freaking, what's the deal? Frank Thomas, right? We see that commercial on every wrestling show with whatever, Nugenics, is that what it's called? I've seen that commercial like a zillion times. Or the Ric Flair commercial with Car Shield. If that's all your commercials, then that's fine. Those guys go for the lowest common denominator anyway, and whatever. But
those are like all of Ring of Honor's commercials. Like every Ring of Honor commercial is a Car Shield commercial. Oh, I'll probably be the only person that think that's hilarious because I'm probably the only guy that actually watches Ring of Honor. But fuck, that's hilarious.
State Farm, and State Farm is all over that show, and they're the presenting sponsor. It's like, that's like a real company, and that's all I could think of watching this is like, freaking if somebody from like management at State Farm looks at this, they're going to go, what the fuck are we doing? And I just think that's just not, that's just not worth it at all. You don't want that rep in the advertising world that, oh yeah, you're getting good ratings on television, but you're doing bloodbath stuff and things like that, because then you're back to the old wrestling where, oh yeah, their ratings are great, but they don't mean shit. Because
hey, didn't we just go back to 1999? So you would think that Dave Meltzer would have told Tony Khan this by now, right? You would have think so. How many bloodbath matches had they had on Dynamite? Numerous, right? So now Meltzer is like, oh well, they shouldn't have been doing it in the first place. Vince McMahon talked about the blood and guts concept of, then AEW took it and named the show after it because they were trying to be funny. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Let's see if there's some more of this we can glean from Dave Meltzer before we jump to the conspiracy theory that made me just want to pull all my hair out.
Can't make any money, and you can get a show canceled because you don't have a sponsor, even though your numbers are good. And at this stage, they're not going to get canceled. I mean, TNT loves their numbers, especially the last couple of weeks. I mean, my God. So that's not an issue. And again, if TNT sends them a memo, don't do this again, he ain't going to do it again.
This whole concept of TNT loves their numbers and all that stuff, I mean, that's all speculation. It's good speculation. I'm not going to say it's like absolute crap, but it's speculation nonetheless. So let's talk about the conspiracy theory. There was a conspiracy theory from our boy, my pal and yours, my good buddy David Bixenspan. We have to go to the peanut gallery. So here's what David Bixenspan says. The Q2 WWE Investor Call 2019. Vince uses AEW to rant about blood and guts to try to hurt AEW with sponsors. Same call, 2021. Vince ignores previous night's bloodbath when AEW comes up. But article RE, AEW blood sponsors drops 90 minutes later on site making money from WWE's partner. Odd. He was asked about this, and he says they're a DraftKings partner, and WWE is a DraftKings partner. I'm guessing he's talking about Domino's. So apparently Vince McMahon personally called, and because apparently Domino's does not have any other way of knowing when commercials are showing up on their site. And to be quite honest, the whole pizza cutter thing was all over the internet, right? Barstool Sports, which is one of the, if not the biggest sports brand online, picked it up and showed it via their website, and picked it up on their Twitter account and tweeted it out, and was laughing about how Domino's Pizza was associated with Nick Gage and the pizza cutter. So Vince McMahon didn't need to make a phone call, Bix. You fucking idiot. Anybody with a functioning brain would have seen it coming. Again, I just went through how people who are in the know in the wrestling business, they're absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. There's no conspiracy theory. This is something that is spank brand new. Nobody need to make a phone call. All right? People saw that. People can see it. They have eyeballs. That's ridiculous. So this led to a lot of course, negative attention towards Domino's. But what really kind of threw me for a loop is all of the wrestling intelligentsia who saw fit to get involved with this. So Jonathan Snowden is a wrestling journalist. He has actually written books. His book on Ken Shamrock is actually pretty good. Right after the show, he tweeted out, why are sponsors supposed to be upset about this simulated violence on pro wrestling shows? AEW was followed by a movie where a dude was torturing and murdering another dude. No one was like, oh my stars, what will State Farm think about the content in this Jamie Foxx movie? Well, you have to understand wrestling is not a movie. People do not see it as being the same way. It's a different industry. Okay, that is not nearly the same thing. Secondly, the movie is already paid for. The movie is already made. Okay. And secondly, they can pull ads from movies if they wanted to. And when you put a movie on TV, usually it is edited. Right. He continues, right after the Domino's things came out, it says, I don't believe any real people were offended by the ad placement on the wrestling show last night. I believe Domino's will, however, lose plenty of customers with an aggressively prudish response here. Let me tell you something, Jonathan Snowden. Not that many people care about. If you look at Domino's, even if every single person who watches AEW stopped buying Domino's, Domino's will still be doing fine. That's how big the company is. They'll be fine. If every person who watched AEW that night said, I will never buy Domino's again, there's 300 million other people in the country. They will be just fine. This is what I mean by people don't think, right? Because Domino's is a family brand. It wants to be associated with families and fun stuff and not weirdos with pizza cutters and, hairy bastards who are hanging around with their boyfriends, girlfriends in fucking wrestling shows. They don't care about that. Okay, they don't give a shit. This leads us to Pabst Blue Ribbon, the beer company, who tweeted at Domino's, this ain't it, Domino's, and says, yo, AEW TNT, let us get those spots. So basically, if Domino's gives up the spots, Pabst Blue Ribbon, a much smaller company than Domino's, wants to. You can't just replace, and then people think like, oh, well, Pizza Hut will replace them. Like, what are you talking about? You don't understand how the industry works. You don't understand how the industry works at all. This is not how that things work. So you can't just say, well, we'll replace it with Pizza Hut. We'll replace it with Little Caesars. It's like, that's not how the industry works, dog. That's not. What likely, top industry companies don't want to be involved with, other people in the same industry don't want to be involved with it either. And it's just kind of how it is. Now, it seems that people can't be warned. They don't want to listen. Tony Khan apparently followed Pabst Blue Ribbon after they tweeted at them that they wanted to be sponsors on the show. But of course, they have to meet TNT's price. It's not like they can just offer, oh, well, we'll give you money. It's like, well, TNT is going to charge per 2 minute spot on Dynamite, right? So, how can I explain this? I'm not an expert in this, by the way. But the best I can understand is when I looked up how much it cost to run a commercial on SmackDown, it was like $33,000 for a 30-second ad. So if you have so if your ad is again 30 seconds, that's $33,000. I'm guessing it doesn't cost that much. Probably not $30,000 to advertise on AEW Dynamite. But let's give it comparable numbers. Let's say that Domino's was paying $30,000. Now you have to have Pabst Blue Ribbon to come in and pay $30,000 or maybe more. Who knows? But the quality of the sponsorship will still be different. I mean, when you look at these things, the way that companies are looking at them is association, right? Good things want to be associated with good things. Moral things want to be associated with good moral things. And you also have to have a brand and a brand image. Now, one of the smarter, probably crazier responses that I saw for AEW is somebody who said that, for Domino's, AEW is right in your demographic. College students who eat a lot of pizza and watch sports and stuff like that. Of course, they don't understand the demographic when it comes to AEW. It leans on the higher side. When they do the 18 to 49, that's 30 years of gap right there, right? When you look at AEW, especially some of the things that they do, like featuring Chris Jericho or bringing back Juventud Guerrera, Chavo, different things like that, they're leaning more on that 40 to 45, 50 range, right? They're not leaning that heavily on the 18, I wish they would break that block up and do like 18 to 25 and then 26 to 35 and then, 36 to whatever, that would probably be a lot easier. But that's how you would do it in statistics, but whatever. In any event, you can't even if you can replace it with other ads, the quality of those ads may be junk, right? It may be just crap nobody cares about. Pabst Blue Ribbon is not even a beer company that I've heard a lot about. It's just, I know they make various malt liquors and all that kind of stuff. You really want to push malt liquor on your fans? I mean, it's already bad enough you're pushing pizza. But in any event, regardless of Pabst and Domino's, none of that stuff matters. The only point here, my big picture, is that they were warned. Regardless of whether Domino's pulls it or not, and they haven't said that they will yet. I think that AEW's fan base will probably give them, the idea that they probably should. Because the fan base, rabid as it is, has been attacking Domino's all day. They've been going after Domino's literally all day. They have no conception of why, Domino's doesn't want to participate with this thing, but the Domino's sees themselves as a family brand. If you see yourself as a family brand, that, and pizza is the kind of thing that people sit around with their kids and eat, you don't want to be seen as supporting those types of shows. It doesn't matter if the show gets high ratings or not. It doesn't matter if you're even in the demographic or not. They don't care. See, this is the thing about, WWE. This is the thing about business, right? WWE wanted that Mattel sponsorship. But Mattel was like, absolutely not. Look at your program. Your program is shit. It may get high ratings, but so what? You're violent. It's an obsessive amount of sex. We don't want, anything that we're doing associated with anything that you're doing. We don't associate with your kind. So WWE got rid of all that stuff. They sterilized the brand. They was able to get that big Mattel money. AEW probably not going to do the same thing, because if they try to play WWE's game, they're definitely going to put themselves out of business. It's literally that simple. If they try to play WWE's game, they will go out of business. So their best option is to piss off some sponsors and just accept that there are certain sponsors they won't get. Now, TNT might not like that, because this is where we double back to Bischoff and Freddie Prinze Jr. in so much as now you're talking about pissing off the TV networks who want the best sponsors they can get, and your program is not going to help. But top sponsors are things like Coca-Cola, and Pepsi and different things like that, and they don't always want to participate. Like when you look at Papa John's is one of the top pizza companies in the country, in the United States. For a while they were the official pizza of the NFL. So they have an association with like Real Sports and different things like that. Those are the kind of sponsorships you want, but those are the kind of sponsorships you cannot get if you're doing death matches and stabbing each other in the head with forks. Because if you could get those sponsorships, hell, wouldn't GCW already have them? Think about that for a moment. If you could get those kinds of sponsors doing that kind of stuff, ECW never would have went out of business. People still have standards. It's not all about TV ratings. Companies care about other things too. And that's the one thing that a lot of people don't seem to understand. They think because they've been told forever that all people care about is TV ratings, then that's all they care about. But the TV ratings. And there's people are saying, no, your brand pollutes my brand. I don't want to participate with that crap. We don't want our brand associated with people using pizza cutters in matches. Now, I fully believe Tony Khan will probably not book, well, he probably will book Nick Gage. We'll probably say no more pizza cutters and tone down the violence. Of course, that's going to affect their business. You won't be able to spam bloodbaths on television. They'll probably save them for pay-per-view, of course, which is what WWE used to do. They would, avoid blood on television, but they would go full blood on TV, on pay-per-view, which is, okay. As long as, people are willing to accept that. But then it might end up coming to a point where they don't even want to do that anymore. And that's it. They were warned. They did it anyway. This is the backlash. And now people are surprised at the backlash. They're calling Domino's pussy. They're saying Domino's are for wussies and all this kind of stuff. It's like, you can't shame a corporation into doing what you want them to do. You can't. Shaming language is not going to work. You can call them pussies all day on Twitter. They don't give a fuck. At the end of the day, TNT going to look at you like you a fucking fool. You're fucking with their business. You're fucking with their money. Because it ain't just AEW. If they stop giving money to TNT, that affects more than just AEW. So no, you can call them pussies. You can say whatever you want. They ain't playing that game. And again, Domino's is just the ones who said something out loud. Who knows how many people sent emails and said, this is ridiculous. What are you doing? Probably people send this stuff all day. Notice that Vince didn't change his ways until after he was pretty sure WCW was dead. Then all of a sudden he flipped. And I think it was like 99, 2000. It might have been 2000 when he officially decided that they were going to cut down some of that stuff. And even though it kind of continued through the Ruthless Aggression era to a degree, and they lost a lot of sponsors and all that stuff then too, before they decided to clean up their act. But, AEW is going to have to smarten up. Sure, you can have Flexing Gate commercials if that's what you want. Have Shahid Khan pay for commercials on his own wrestling program. Why not? But it's not a smart thing to do. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. Don't fall for the okie doke. And I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out. Hey, matter of fact, while we on the subject, why don't y'all sponsor the channel? Sponsor the channel. God damn it. Oh, that's also how YouTube works. So a lot of people say, well, my videos get 500,000 views or whatever, I can't get monetized. It's like, yeah, YouTube doesn't want to associate with your content. So they don't. And it's the exact same thing here. So you have people who have huge channels, but they can't get monetized. They have hundreds of thousands of views, can't get monetized. It's the exact same thing here for people who might be confused. It's a similar thing on YouTube, the adpocalypse and all that crap. Same thing. But feel free to sponsor the channel via Subscribe Star or sending cash via Cash App. Either way it goes, thank you guys for your time. AEW needs to smarten up. And I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace.
Skin tone, so why attach yourself and piggyback the wealth you didn't earn or lack yourself? I'm telling you to own up to your own success and failures. It's a reason why these sleazy guys